And originally when we started on the film, we had this grand plan of going out and finding locations where we could bring trains and put the actors on top of the trains and shoot everything that we wanted to shoot. But as we got deeper into it, realized that no matter, even if we were able to do that, we were going to have to modify the environments anyway, because we had to stick the other train in, and the animatic that we were working from was very specific about where the trains had to be relative to each other and how fast they had to be going, and to get all those factors perfect out while you're shooting was basically impossible. So we knew we were going to have to do a lot of environment work.
We did everything from traditional 2.5D matte work to the hybrid to the full CG. We did deserts, we did all those types of things.
The work got even more difficult and more broad because we also ended up having to shoot more blue screens than we thought we were going to need to, partially because of getting actors on top of moving trains is dangerous, and really getting their performance right was very important to gore. So we ended up shooting more things on top of blue screens on static trains, which meant that we had to go and generate, even more CG environments.
One of the key shots that we worked on early on in the film was a shot where Johnny Depp is running towards camera on the flatbed of a train, and the plate was shot with that flatbed being pulled down the highway on a truck. But when we looked at the plate and Gore looked at it, he said, we're only going 15 miles an hour, and that doesn't look scary enough. And so that meant that plate was now really just good reference, and we were going to have to recreate the entire environment. Typically when you build a CG environment, you're going to build something that is maybe localized. You put maybe 100 cameras into that, run everything through that, and it's a very controlled area. But what we were facing was a traveling environment. The train's on the move, and every single shot, it's a different environment. And so on the fly, each artist is having to create a brand new environment that syncs up to the shots before and after, or the plates that are coming in that intercut, and it has to work seamlessly, and it has to be efficient.
There's quite a few shots where we have, say, half the frame where we tried to get it in camera, and then we're splitting in the other side of the frame to put the other train and modify the mountains and add trees and things like that.
One of the mandates that Gore gave us was, he said, we want to take people on a real ride, a real adventure, so make it bigger, make it bolder, and yet you're still needing to be photoreal, completely convincing. And when you're doing a treed environment, that's where it starts to get very, very difficult. It's a very complex, organic thing, and so now you're putting 10,000 of those out there into the environment, and it's got to be believable.
Gore doesn't tend to repeat things very often. Like, every single shot was fairly unique and designed to tell us a very specific story. Photoreal environments are, or have been, kind of a holy grail. I think they're finely detailed, especially natural environments like we were doing.
When you're doing environments that are alien, no one really knows what that looks like. And yet, when you drive home every night, you see, trees, mountains, whatever, and we're all very familiar with them, and if it doesn't look right, it's gonna stick out like a sore thumb.
One of the things we did find out too is that having moving trees in there really helps the detail level as well, and it's something that a lot of people tend to avoid because it seems like it's going to be hard to do.
We knew that we'd have trees coming really close to the train. It just helps improve the illusion of speed, and that means those trees have to react to the train that's whipping past. Or we want to see some just ambient wind movement, and your eye sees that and you start to register it, and it doesn't look like a painting anymore. So what we did was we picked select moments, because when it's moving quickly, you don't even perceive that sometimes.
Layout would have to go in, especially for the static shots, and they're the ones that establish where in the environment we are and how fast we're moving. So the layout guys go in and do that. Then after that point, Digimat can get involved, and they can start matting all the trees and the other train track and that kind of thing. We have lighting TDs getting involved that start rendering the trains that go in there. There's always a CG train in all of those shots, whether it's the other train in the scene or whether it's that we're extending the foreground train as well. So the TDs are lighting. The effects guys were involved in every shot because every single train had to have smoke coming out of it. And we quickly learned that there wasn't really a canned sim that we could use, because depending on our angle and our speed, the smoke just looked different in pretty much every shot. The compositors are doing quite a bit of color correction and depth hazing and adding smoke elements into the environment to give it some atmosphere and things like that to really kind of tie everything together. Creature dev would get in and sometimes do sims or help, get the trains on the tracks, or, they were really the ones responsible for rigging the trains. So we pretty much would hit every single department for all of those shots.
We probably had about 6 major geographic changes, and then ultimately we finished with the train going off the blown up bridge at the end. So, spoiler.